The speaker I'm talking about today has one of the most storied histories of any speaker ever produced. At Audio Advice, we do love history, so I'll dive a little into it first. It was in 1927 that James B. Lansing first got into the speaker business to create speaker components for console radios. He called his company Lansing Manufacturing. Later on, he started designing much larger speakers for the burgeoning movie industry. This was such a success, his company won an Academy Award in 1936. In 1959, Fender picked the JBL driver to be used in their new guitar amp. 1969 was the summer of love at the Woodstock Music Festival, where the stage was filled with JBL speakers. Then in 1973, the Grateful Dead introduced their wall of sound using all JBL speakers. This cemented JBL's relationship with the professional musicians as the ultimate speaker to use on tour. Another significant thing happened in 1969 when JBL introduced the model L100, which was a home version of the model 4311 designed for recording studios. Over 125,000 pairs of the L100 were sold in the 1970s. JBL reintroduced a new version as the L100 Classic for its 50th anniversary in 2019, and to celebrate their 75th anniversary as a company, JBL decided to take it even further and add an upgraded version called the L100 Classic 75. For the 50th anniversary version of the L100 release, we did a full overview you can find a link to in the description. There we get into a lot of the technical details on how JBL took their classic L100 and completely changed everything except the cabinet size to produce an even better version of their classic legend. When we heard about the L100 Classic 75 limited edition, we thought it was just going to be another L100 Classic with a nicer finish delivered in a super cool painted crate. However, JBL has improved every aspect of the speaker for this very limited run of one of the most popular speakers of all time. For those of you not familiar with the original L100, I wanted to share a bit of their history. Back in the 1970s, there was no internet, home computers, or cell phones. Time was spent either watching one of the 3 networks on a 19-inch TV or enjoying music. If you were to ask any rock music fan at that time what their ultimate speaker would be, there's a very good chance the answer would be a pair of JBL L100s. With their brazen orange or blue sculpted grills, they had a striking look that embodied rock and roll of the time. Their sound went with their looks too, big, loud, and totally fun to listen to. The L100 Classic was a complete redo of that original speaker, and the L100 Classic 75 limited edition takes several things JBL has learned in the last 2 years and added some improvements to an already great speaker. First, if you were lucky enough to get one of these 750 pairs being produced, of which only 250 pairs are coming to the US, make sure you have the help of several friends to get them unpacked. They come packaged in a huge wooden crate that holds both speakers. The whole container weighs in at 284 pounds. The crate has some great artwork, and the speakers have a signed rear plaque from Chris Hagen, the lead designer of the JBL L100 Classic and L100 Classic 75. When you pull them out of the crate, you'll encounter a beautiful teak finish with a sculpted black grille framed in the same teak finish. The speakers are shipped in grain match pairs, and even the front of the speaker is adorned with this great wooden look. You'll also take pride in knowing your exact pair of speakers was individually tested at the JBL factory. What was really cool as I was playing around with these, I noticed on the back plate, we were sent pairs 000 by JBL. That's really pretty neat. We recommend you install these 60-pound beasts on the pair of JS120 stands JBL includes in the box. These will add a bit of tilt and put them at the perfect listening height. Plus, they look just cool as all get out on these stands. Now let's take a look at all the new tech inside the L100 Classic 75. When your company provides sound for some of the most important music events all over the planet, you have a passion for continual improvement and innovation. JBL uses both science and real-world blind listening tests in the design of all their speakers. One of our favorite things about them is the fact they design and manufacture all of their own speaker components, and better yet, they give each one a product number, which makes comparisons both fun and easy for us audio geeks who love to look up all the specs. JBL just didn't take the new L100 Classic and put it into a new box for the L100 Classic 75. Each and every speaker driver is improved, as is the crossover and speaker binding post. For the woofer, JBL used the same type of pulp cone coated with their proprietary Aqua Plus. This 12-inch woofer also has a similar surround and the same frame as the one in the L100 Classic. However, the rest of the suspension and motor assembly are entirely different. The L100 Classic used 2 thinner magnets, whereas the L100 Classic 75 has one single thick magnet. The spider is also totally different from the L100 Classic, where a single spider was used. The L100 Classic 75 uses dual inverted spiders, which helps to reduce odd order harmonic distortions. For the mid-range driver and tweeter, JBL made some changes to the geometry of the diaphragm and the suspension. The mid-range driver is made of the same type of pulp material as the woofer, and the tweeter is a titanium dome combined with a custom waveguide to improve dispersion. To my ears, both the mid-range and treble sounded slightly smoother than the L100 Classic. Like the L100 Classic, these have a really wide and open soundstage. One thing I was really happy to see is the ability to bi-amp or bi-wire the L100 Classic 75. We complained to them about this on the L100 Classic, and it looks like they listened. A trademark of JBL monitors over the last 50 years has been their front-mounted controls for the speaker drivers. The L100 Classic 75 gets a pair of these that allow for minor adjustments of the mid-range and tweeter levels. These allow you to compensate for an overly damped room or a room with excess reflections. Like the L100 Classic, the new L100 Classic 75 has a cabinet that is very well braced. I like to wrap our knuckles on a speaker cabinet to hear how much it resonates, and these are very solid, just like the L100 Classic. When some of us reminisced about hearing the original JBL 100 for the first time, the word that came up the most was simply fun. The original L100 and the 2 that have followed it are all about having a listening experience that just puts a smile on your face. Do they provide pinpoint 3-dimensional imaging that a super high-performance small monitor gives you? No. Nor do they reach down into the very deepest regions some big tower speakers can. But what they do is just take you back to that sound you hear at a live concert. To me, that's what makes them so appealing to music lovers in general. They just have a live sound that makes you want to crank them up and grin. For my testing of the new L100 75, I connected them up to a Macintosh MA352 hybrid integrated amp. I fed this with a Blue Sound Node 2i and played a wide variety of music from Qobuz. After a couple of songs, I got them dialed in where they sounded the best in our 13-foot by 18-foot size room, where I had them on the long wall. I actually wound up having the back of the speaker about 31 inches off the rear wall and towed in some. A great track was I Can See Clearly Now from Holly Cole's 1993 album Don't Smoke in Bed. While this may be a worn-out demo cut, it's been a favorite for years, I still get a kick out of listening to it. It has an upright bass where there's some slapping of the body of the instrument you can hear on a great system. Holly Cole sounds right up front in the mix as well. When the system is right, you'll be smiling and tapping your toes to the music. The L100 Classic 75 just nailed this one. Another standout was Try to Do the Right Thing from Van Morrison's 2021 latest record project, Volume 1. This starts off with a couple of seconds of guitar, then you get a big impact of both bass and drums as the song gets going. The L100 Classic 75 sounded just great here. The bass was very full and showed how fast the 12-inch woofers are. At about 80 seconds in, there's a lot of harmony going on, which sounded like it was way in the back and spread out compared to Van Morrison, who is right up front, dead center. It was just such a great presentation. The next interesting piece was from Blue Heron Suite by Sarah Yarosh. The track is Mama. At first you hear light acoustic guitars and Sarah floats out in front. Her voice can sound a little edgy on some systems, but here it was silky smooth, almost hauntingly so on this cut. The JBLs also did a fantastic job playing back the hand-plucked acoustic guitar. I then moved over to an old classical favorite of mine, Scheherazade, the Sea and Sinbad Ship, performed by the Chicago Symphony Orchestra and conducted by Fritz Reiner. This recording is almost 70 years old, yet still sounds fantastic. The intro is full orchestra, then quickly fades to light woodwinds, which the JBLs just floated right out in front of me. These fade to a violin and harp solo that sounded perfectly delicate on these great speakers. The JBLs did a super job of presenting both the delicacy of small instruments and the weight of a full symphony orchestra. I then felt it was time to rock out and moved over to a brand new release from Pink Floyd of a live performance in 1990. The album is Live at Nebworth 1990, and the track I picked was the classic Wish You Were Here. From the second this starts playing, you can almost feel like you were in the garden with the outdoor crowd noises extending far beyond the size of the speakers. The guitar work of David Gilmour and Tim Renwick sounded just incredible. When the bass line comes in at about 1:40 is when you're already grinning and ready to reach for the volume control to crank things up. Of all the tracks I played, this one summed up why I love the JBL sound so much. They just get live sound right. I had even more fun listening to the new JBL L100 Classic 75 than I did the L100 Classics introduced in 2019. I felt they got even closer to that elusive, effortless sound with improved imaging as well. With only 750 pairs of these being produced and only 250 coming to the United States, these will go fast. They are beautiful to look at and will get you into a piece of gear from the company who has a rich history in concert sound. I suspect 20 years from now, these will be commanding far more than their selling price today, as these are a true classic. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and also check out the playlist section of our YouTube channel to easily find all of the content you're looking for. We come out with new videos just like this one on a weekly basis, so hit that subscribe button, click the notification bell so you don't miss the latest home audio or home theater content. We'll see you next time.